Hello, hello. Today we're reviewing one of the better charge E.G.Os in Limbus company, and that is going to be Don's Telepole. Don's Telepole is a heat level E.G.O, has a base of 18 with a plus 8 coin, pierce damage, and attack weight of 3. On hit, you gain 10 charge count, and after attack, you give your allies charge count by the enemy resonance. Now, 10 charge count, just straight up, is very, very solid. Now, the passive of this E.G.O, Haphazard Discharge, also helps you get a little bit of charge as well. At the start of the combat phase, a random ally with charge gains MV Absolute Resonance divided by 2 charge count. This will give you a bit of charge, not too much, but a little bit of charge is still a little bit of charge. When you use this E.G.O, you're going to have to cop up 20 sanity, which is actually 5 less than the average he, being 25, and you'll have to use 1 Wrath, 2 Gloom, and 2 Pride E.G.O resources, which, all things considered, is usually the average per he's, like 5 resource cost, so it's pretty decent, and having less sanity needing to be spent is also pretty good. I wish I could say that the resistances of this E.G.O were pretty good, but they're not, as it being Fatal to Sloth, Fatal to Gluttony, Endured to Pride, and ineffective to Envy. If you decide to crow this E.G.O, you're going to have a 19 base with a plus 10 roll, do piercing damage, and have an attack weight of 3. Now usually you don't want the corrosion to have a positive roll, but this one gets an exception because it only costs the sanity cost of a tap. But on hit you gain 10 charge count and 10 rupture potency, so you'll be taking 10 damage when you're hit next time, which is not bad, not a bad trade-off. After attack, give 5 fragile and 10 rupture, but plus 12 charge count to all allies. This is very risky, being 5 fragile, but the 10 rupture is also a little bad, but the 5 fragile is very scary. At the same time though, 12 charge count to all your allies is phenomenal. Now, the drip of this E.G.O is very solid in the Awakening and in the Corrosion. Personally though, I like the Corrosion a little more, so I'll have to give it a rating of like 7.5. The strength of this E.G.O is pretty underwhelming. As it is a he, you'd want a pretty decent roll, but it rolls a 25 on the Awakening and 29 on the Corrosion, which are alright, I suppose. It's not terrible, but it's not like good. Especially if you're looking at Heathcliff's Telepole, which has the highest rolls in the game. If you're comparing those together, this is quite underwhelming. So I'll have to give it a 4. Or no, more like a, no, 4 is alright, I suppose. The usefulness of this E.G.O is a whole different story though, as you're giving yourself 10 charge count and a bit of charge count to your allies on the Awakening. But on your Corrosion is where it gets very good. You gain 10 charge count, a little bit of rupture, but 10 charge count, and after attack, you give your allies 12 charge count. All your allies, right? It's not even just like 2 or 3, it's every ally gains 12 charge count. And that's very, very, very solid. Obviously, has downsides. You get fragile, you get some rupture, but just for the ability to give your allies that much charge that quickly, it's an easy 10 for usefulness. But yeah, that was Don's Telepole E.G.O. It was a little bit better for gaining charge than Heathcliff's Telepole, but in terms of damage and roll, Heathcliff's Telepole still has it beaten by a long shot. Well, that's about it. Have a good one.